Bag, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and the producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, I'm trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of our presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
Welcome Black to the Garden. It's B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Henry Harris, and we also have Farmer Brown, the MC. Welcome back. Here at B1AG, we talk about Black agriculture as it pertains to agricultural production, health, food, nutrition, education, marketing, and economics, all for the Black family and the Black community. I'm not sure, here at B1AG, this is where agriculture and the hip hop generation, they cross. Now, Moneybagg Yo is a rapper out of Memphis, one of the more popular rappers of today's time. And, he's popularized by his songs like Time Today. And recently, his recent song remix with Lil Wayne, Waukesha, is trending at number 11 on YouTube. Well, he had a birthday recently, and his girlfriend gifted him with 28.8 acres for his 30th birthday. And that's what we'd like to talk today. That's what we're going to talk about. I think it's a wonderful thing when you have, when we think of gifts, most people, they give, it's like something like a car or something to wear, some kind of fashion, some designer. But we find it very refreshing that this young man was gifted with land, something that will definitely establish long-term wealth and financial health in this world that we live in. So we're gonna dive a little bit deeper because this is a trend. We're seeing a lot more of our rappers and entertainers and athletes really getting back into buying land. And although I say trend, I hope it's something that becomes code, not just be a trend, something that's fashionable to do now, but this becomes code again for our people. Because when we think about Black Wall Street and, when our people were in its heyday as far as financial freedom and self-sufficiency, that all tied to land ownership and food production. So when we look at the state of the union, so to speak, as we're in now, we're losing 30,000 acres a year. And that's not by design. I mean, that's not by happenstance. That's by design. Because if we don't have land, we can't produce. If we don't have land, we really don't have a stake in this country, a solid stake in this country if we don't own land. So Farmer Brown, what do you got to say about Moneybagg Yo and being gifted 28.8 acres for his birthday?
I got the time. First, I just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well. We got a great story today. I think this is a great piece, sister. This is a great learning opportunity. We have some great infographics for people looking into getting into production. I remember back in 2015 when I first started presenting my Farmer Brown the MC research, and the whole research was based around how can you use hip hop, music, and culture to teach 3rd through 5th graders about agriculture. And I remember it got laughter. What does hip hop have to do with agriculture? I think this story today with Moneybagg Yo and his girlfriend gifting him a 28.8 acres has everything to do with why hip hop not just hip hop music, but the culture, the generational bond. I think this is a great story and a great talking point. This young man is coming out of Tennessee. When we think about Tennessee, we think about Thomas Burrell. This is the founder of the Black Farmers and Agriculturalists Association. This is where a few years ago we saw that a lot of black farmers were sold bad seed. What happens if you have bad seed? You're not able to grow your crop. And so I look forward to deep diving into this because this is a great story today. And we have some very interesting information for the family, looking to get into agriculture and getting some land.
Having land will definitely give you a leg up in getting into agriculture. Now, this with Moneybagg Yo, his girlfriend is Ari Fletcher. She's a YouTube, Instagram influencer. Now, they've been dating for nearly 2 years, and they really made a lot of waves before this. With Moneybagg Yo gifting her with cars and all kind of designer bags and fashion, and which prompts a lot of the followers, the hashtag relationship goals. But she kind of flipped the script this time, and she gifted him with those 28.8 acres, which we really, now we're working with power. Now we're cooking. You know what I'm saying? We're giving, because this is an appreciating gift. This is an appreciating gift. This isn't a gift that's going to depreciate in value, like everything else. A lot of the gifts that we do give and receive, they don't appreciate in value. This is the gifting of land is really it's priceless, so to speak, especially in these days and times, because you never know when you might have to retreat to your own little piece of land if you got it, and if you don't have it, you might, it might be hard for you. So having your own piece of land to retreat to is definitely good to have in your back pocket.
Obviously, it's good to have in your back pocket in a struggle situation, right? Survival. Oh, something's happened. We need to go somewhere. But for the people that's wanting to get to the bag, and so, and we would hope that the family, when you see an acre of land or any plot of land, whether it's a fourth acre or a full acre, don't just look at it as grass. Don't just look at it as a soil, somewhere where I see these bugs. Acres of land are productive. We know that this is an agricultural society. Civilization started because of agriculture. So when we think about an acre, if you can kind of think about a football field. And so this is according to JMF, permacultureapprentice.com. JMF claims that a well-established, smoothly running market garden with good sales outlets can generate 60,000 to 100,000 annually per acre in diverse crops. That's a profit margin over 40%. I'll repeat, a smoothly running market garden with good sales outlets can generate 60,000 to 100,000 annually per acre in diverse vegetable crops. What that means is when you see the corn along the road, or you see, long rows of soybeans, that's not the same as diverse crops. Here at B1AG, a big part of what we talk about is food security. How do we address food security? And so we're not on here selling wolf tickets like, hey, if you put your acre into production, you're going to generate 60 to 100,000. What that means, this is possible when it's diversified. One of the issues I run into as an extension agent, a lot of farmers are kind of stuck in, Kentucky was a big tobacco state. And so a lot of people, they remember grandparents made money with tobacco. That industry left decades ago. And so now you have a lot of people that are still holding on to the old way of doing business. And there's these huge opportunities. We realize with all of these shipping and supply chain disruptions, it's more important than ever to start localizing our food production. What does this localizing mean? Well, we know using Kentucky, for example, you can't eat tobacco. You really, if you want to supply Philip Morris or the tobacco cigarette makers, you got to have hundreds of acres of tobacco. And so when we're thinking about people to have something like 28 acres, which Moneybagg Yo was gifted with, what can we do to make those profitable? And so I was just doing the quick numbers. And so if he put 20 of those acres in production, just 20 out of the 28, use the other 8 for recreation, your homestead, so to speak, you can earn up to $1 million. And this is if you're getting about 50,000 per acre doing vegetables. These are like your tomatoes. These are greens. These are products that are in demand. One of the concepts is market. Here at B1AG, we talk about markets a lot. It's one thing, I know I got a green thumb and I can just grow things, but you don't want to grow something that you don't have a consumer. We understand that 100% of the melanated community, because we're framing this conversation around melanated food security, 100% of us eat. Am I saying that with Moneybagg Yo's 28 acres that he can feed the whole block? No, that's not what I'm saying. But from 20, if just putting 20 of those acres into production, you're literally talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds of produce that could be produced. To start an operation like this, you're looking at between $20,000 to $30,000 investment. These are investments in equipment. You need labor. Moneybagg Yo, he's rapping, he's hitting the stages, he's in the studio. And so is this saying, hey, rapper, get off the stage and go out in the field and work? This isn't that at all. But when we think about, these different fields of study especially for our youth, when we think about a lot of people losing jobs, a lot of these hard decisions that people are making, this is a beautiful relationship that could be formed, and I'm just thinking in my imaginary mind now between the hip hop artists, when you think about your athletes who have access to larger bags of money, but then, how can we really help these communities? It's one thing, okay, I'm just going to give you something, I've given you this fish, now you eat the fish, now you're hungry again, versus, okay, I'm creating a pond and I'm going to supply you with the fishing poles. And this is when, like I said, I brought up the elder Thomas Burrell. And so we would talk to Judge Joe Brown a few months back, and he was just talking about the history of Thomas Burrell as one of those soldiers. When we talk about now, how do we create the next generation of gangster gardeners? Gangster gardeners just meaning I can produce something and I can defend where I'm making my money. I'm defending my block. The same drillers that's defending blocks, for trap spots. What if we have this same mindset towards protecting land when somebody like a Moneybagg Yo comes up on it? The beautiful thing to me when I think about his girl, I mean, that's what can you do with a nice watch? I mean, you can tell time, but it's only so many ways to tell time. What can you do with a nice outfit? When you got money like that, you don't want to wear the same outfit every time. But land is something that can be in production. Long after this young man doesn't have to get on stage and perform anymore and present, he still has an opportunity to produce something that can feed Memphis. I'm deep into metaphysics as well. And so when I think about what Tennessee represents, when I think about this area of the land, the Turtle Island, this is some of the most prime farmland. Truth be told, I don't know if his girl went into the details of what's going on. This is where Bill Gates, a lot of these larger entities have been purchasing land because this is some of the best fertile land to produce. And so when we think about the potentiality of what he could do in Tennessee, meeting somebody like a Thomas Burrell, taking advantage of the cooperative extension offices at Tennessee State University. We think about these HBCUs, we think about the bands, we think about the good times, but these are land grant institutions. They were designed because see what the ops like to do is say, hey, well, I gave you opportunity. If you didn't pay attention to it, I don't know what to tell you. So these land grant universities, they are charged with the task. They get state money. They're funded federally and on the state level to teach people how to produce. But what happens if we don't make it a culture within our communities that this is something important? A lot of our students get through high school and never even think about, hey, I can make use of this land. This land is a big trap. And it's a trap that continuously yields this product that I'm pushing to the streets. And not only will I not get arrested for pushing healthy food to the streets, I actually profit. I actually get healthier. When I think about what his girl did for him, it's like you think about the importance and impact that Instagram models and influencers have. She's a beautiful lady. not to digress from the topic, we think about Nicki Minaj. There's a lot of people throw shades. Oh, they're augmented. Oh, they put all of this extra stuff on them. But the point is they have the ear of the people. As elders, I just turned 41, so I'm coming into elder class. Peace. HBCUs, yes. I'm coming into elder class, so I realize, okay, there's some of these things that these younger cats are into that I don't necessarily agree with. I've kind of grown out of, but it's this certain relationship that has to be built with the elder class and the younger class. And so understanding the people that are on Instagram can be some of the best marketers for not only the new layer of Black producers, scientists, agriculturalists, entrepreneurs coming into the game, but the best marketers for the farmers who's already doing it. I can't help but to think the potentiality if Moneybagg Yo connected with Thomas Burrell, specifically in Tennessee, what kind of powerful outcome could happen from that connection?
I think it's very important that we also highlight that his girlfriend gifted him this land from a standpoint that we really do need our Black women to also get more involved with agriculture. Not necessarily, getting your prints in the mud there, but also just because, just to be honest, Black women, you have the greatest chance of getting this funding, getting grants, being a woman as well as being melanated. They're more apt to give you these grants for agriculture than they are to a Black male. Black men, we're the most underemployed sector in this whole country. There are so many jobs available in agriculture that we need to get into agriculture, and that's outside of just farming. It's an industry in itself. So if you're a Black accountant, farmers need accountants. If you do marketing and management, they need that too. If you do your talent, whatever your talent is, you can transfer that same talent over into agriculture, and there is a big bag waiting for you to be grabbed because we're just not participating enough.
What his queen did, I don't know if she thought this out. You never underestimate this Black magic from our sisters. She advertised agriculture or land. I was just say the value of land. They didn't say nothing about farming, but she advertised the value of that just by purchasing this man some land. So there's literally a whole generation of young people that might not have ever gone to an ag course, never gone to a conference, the Federation of Southern Cooperatives conference, but they now intrinsically, just through scrolling from their device, see, oh, there's value in this. And so if we have enough brothers that say, yeah, I want this, and not only do I just want this to have, there's something I can do with it. I have a plan. I have an actual business plan to go with this because I know I got communities full of people that are going to need to eat. I got these young cats that's looking up to me in the streets, and I don't want to throw them out. I don't want to throw them out in the wolves. I want to find something for them to do productive. And there's nothing more productive than producing food that produces energy to produce people to keep producing more energy. And so if you can pull up the infographic real quick, you had brought about where the Black farms actually are to have a visual. When we have this B1AG conversation, we like to be very concise. And so the dots you see here, and there are farms obviously in the West Coast. When we think about the concentration of the last few remaining Black farms in what we call North America, Turtle Island, this is where they're at. Where you see these blue dots, this is where they're concentrated. And what you'll notice is they're along the southeast. I think something else to also be taken under consideration if we was to put up another infographic, this is where the most food insecurity is. This is where the most poverty is, but this is also where the most condensed areas of melanated people are. And so, we can play this game of connect the dots, but saying that to say when we think about where to support, where can we channel that energy? Where can we channel our focus of, okay, this sounds like a good idea. And so if you can just kind of glaze over this map, and we encourage you to, replay this if you need to, this is where the Black farmers are spread out. These are the farmers that's not getting the subsidies. These are the farmers that have been getting discriminated against. Like I
These
said,
are the farmers that are not experiencing a drought as far as the no rain. These are the farmers that are not having their land burned in wildfires. These are the farmers that need help to produce more.
and these are the areas where your HBCUs are. I hope the families are connecting the dots. When we think about food security, when we think about localizing food. And so we see up north that isn't as many of them. But when we think about these jobs, when we think about shipping, when we think about logistics, I know I have some mathematicians on here. How do we formalize these logistics? How do we make sure that the produce that's being grown down south makes it up to the East Coast, makes it up to the Midwest, makes it up to Minnesota, Wisconsin, the brothers up there? Where are we? How can we localize within these communities? And we have another infographic real quick. So land per acre. I've had a couple of people reaching out now, like, man, this is a great idea. Where do I start? When it comes to investing, what are some things to think about? And so this is as of 2019. So I'm not going to go over every state, but just looking at the Southeast and the West Coast. So we see California and New York. We know these are highly populated areas. This is going to hit you the most. And so you're looking between $8,000 to $10,000 an acre, and this is for farm real estate specifically. And I do want the family to understand there is a difference between just getting land, just getting property, and getting farmland. You don't want to get land that you can't produce anything on and say, hey, I'm going to start a farm. And so you want to be very specific in the type of land that you're looking for. You want arable, ARABLE, arable land. This is land that, it hasn't been, the soil hadn't been depleted. You want to make sure that you have some water sources, because if you don't have water sources, this is another expense. You might need to put a pond in. You want to look for land that has wells. When we get closer to the Midwest, especially where Moneybagg Yo is in Tennessee. And so on average, you're looking at about $2,500 to $3,900 an acre. Here in Kentucky, about $4,000 an acre. And this is farmland. Once again, this isn't just regular land. This is farmland. Down in Florida, you're looking at about 6 stacks per acre. Louisiana, looking about 3,100. Texas, about 2,100. When we look at Arkansas, about 3,400. The Carolinas, 5,000. Once again, there's, like I said, Pennsylvania, this is about 7 stacks per acre. But I want the family to keep in mind you can make up to 50,000, 60,000 per acre, and this is after you've invested. It's not a thing, okay, I'm going to buy this acre and it's going to farm itself. This does take labor. You want to factor in your labor cost. Okay, and so when we're talking about the profitable crops, this means that you have somebody working them consistently. If the farther up north you go, you might want to incorporate these high tunnels more, because obviously you have a little bit more adverse weather. And so you want to make sure you have people, you got to factor in, okay, who's going to build these high tunnel structures? Who's going to maintain them? I'm going to need water supply. Water is an expense. I'm going to need electricity, but this is, once again, when we're talking about getting these young minds involved in renewable energy. This is when you start getting into solar panels, solar energy. This is when you start exploring other renewable energy resources. For the brothers and sisters in the Midwest, I don't know if you've driven, headed up to Chicago, going through Indiana, you see these large solar wind farms. This is another area of opportunity. It's a relatively new technology that just the maintenance people alone on these wind turbines, these are 6-figure jobs. And so our thing here at B1AG, how can we get our minds focused on that? How can we make this work for our community? Not just for today, not just 2021, but going into 2040. How can we master this? The same way we've mastered music, putting a beat down and putting our voice on wax and turning it into $1 trillion industry. How do we apply this same knowledge? How do we apply this same concept to our food security? Working these logistics. How do we incorporate, not ostracize, not put to the side this younger generation that might not see the world the same way some of us older people do? And how do we incorporate it? How do we capitalize on this excitement? How do we capitalize on this this newfound interest in land? We've talked about Waka Flocka farming, and he's one of the crunkest of them all, right? We were just watching the interview with Birdman. personally, I came up on Birdman. That's one of my personal influencers, even with Farmer Brown. I'm a mix between Bill Cosby and Birdman, right? But the concept was him and his brother went in on a Bronald Oil. They went on a natural gas company. And that went over a lot of people's heads. A lot of people were just focused on the music. But saying that to say, and I'm kind of speaking to the older generation of us now, that, hey, there are some good relationships to be had if we can really focus on a central theme of now how can we leverage all of these resources, all of these different forms of capital, whether it's social capital, whether it's fiat, whether it's labor, whether it's sweat equity. How can we leverage these to create the most efficient, not just charitable, but profitable food system for the melanated community? Because we're watching this happen in real time, family.
Like I said, I hope this trend continues. We also, Young Thug. Young Thug also just recently got 100 acres for his birthday. 100 acres of land in Metro Atlanta, for his 30th birthday. So they're waking up. They're waking up. They're waking up. And like whether they're just it's a thing where they're just copying what each other is doing. I don't care. Buy up all the land that we can. Buy up all the land that we can, because we as a community are losing 30,000 acres a year. Whether that's by sale, hook, or crook. We're losing 30,000 acres a year. Black families are losing 30,000 acres a year on average. And we have to get this land back. We have to invest back in this land to get this back. This is how we have a Black Wall Street. This is how you have leverage. This is how you have power. You have to have land. Because if you're just sitting here, that's why the ownership is important. If you don't own where you live, you could always be kicked out. So we're talking, when we say security, we mean that in the very literal sense. Owning land is security. Owning farms, making sure that our farmers can produce, investing in farmers, that is food security. Food security. Like you go into the club and you have the security at the front door. When you have land ownership or you invest in food production, that's just like having those big dudes at the front of the club. They're going to make sure that nobody's coming here to deny you your right to eat.
I tell you what, one of the ways a lot of these families are losing their land is because you're out in a rural area and there's no protection. And I'm talking about this. This goes on a governmental level to local level to the courts. I hear these stories. I meet these people. It's disheartening because nobody knows you're out here and you're suffering this death of 1,000 paper cuts. But it will be a very different story if we got these cats from the urban areas. These woke cats that, okay, hey, I got some land out here too. And so, no, we're not going to have people just coming through taking our land. But you can only protect something that you value. If you don't know it's there, then you're not going to know it needs to be protected. And see, these farmers, they're a resource, they're gold, they're platinum, they're diamonds within our communities. And that's why I keep stressing. I really hope, maybe they already got something going on. Maybe I'm just out the loop, but I hope this connection with the elder Thomas Burrell, Tennessee State University, and Moneybagg Yo happens. I hope that conversation happens, because there's an extension agent there at Tennessee State University in their cooperative extension office, just like everywhere where we're talking about, that could talk to this young man. Hey, this is what you could produce on this land. We're going to do a soil analysis. We're going to check out the water sources. And we're going to give you some research-based information how to make this the most profitable land possible. And the elder Thomas Burrell can give him some game on that. This is what I had to fight with nobody fighting for me. You got millions of people that listen to you, brother. Meaning you have millions of people that ain't about to let somebody just come through and take your land. And if you can amplify this energy, you and your queen, if you can amplify this energy, what you just did, this is how we take that 30,000 acre trim the other way. This is how we increase this 0.52 percentage of land ownership upwards. This is how we increase the 1.4% of Black farmers upwards. This is how we engage the next generation of farmers, producers, and ag entrepreneurs, by being.
Of the family did receive inspiration with this story today. Moneybagg Yo gifted with 28.8 acres for his 30th birthday. You know, Little Boosie said it, buy land over designer. What you spend in designer clothes in a year can buy you acres of land. You know, it's time to just be more strategic with our purchases, be more intentful with how we live, because it's getting weird out here. It's getting very serious and it's always been cutthroat, but it's becoming even more blatant. And, you know, the swords have been drawn and they're very sharp. So let's be ready.
We encourage the family to look up Booker T. Watley. What we're saying here, we you know, this wheel doesn't need to be recreated. We just trying to, you know, put a little shine on it. So Booker T. Watley, this is one of the elders you're probably not going to hear about in your history class, but he developed a system to make $100,000 on 25 acres. And this was back in the 70s. And so literally applying his same method, you know, you ain't got to add nothing to it. It's really just refocusing, figuring out now how to flip it, how to flip this same method that the elder Booker T. Watley, this is research based. This is the guy who came up with the CSA shares, community supported agriculture. This is basically where it's a system where you can pay your farmers up front. You know, instead of having them taking a chance, producing something, and maybe I can sell it. No, I'm going to pay you up front, and in return, I'm going to have a delivery. It's a subscription. Same way we subscribe to Amazon, Netflix, or anything else, you can subscribe to a local farmer. You know, when people ask, how can I support Black farmers don't want charity. They want you to shop with them. I want you to shop with me. I want you to show your appreciation for the product I produce by purchasing it. Tell other people about it. I want to make use of this land. But this is definitely, and this book is going to hit you. I'll just be honest with you. It's going to hit you because it's a very valuable book. Mainstream society, they glean a lot of information from the elder Booker T. Watley. And personally, I'll just say, you know, this is our elder, this is our ancestor. And I think this is the time and space where we need to glean more information from him than the other people who are. How to Make $100,000 Farming 25 Acres by Booker T. Watley.
Please rewatch, check out the infographics, like, share, and subscribe to the B1AG Daily Bread podcast on YouTube. Let's grow this conversation. This is a big conversation. When we talk about food, this is it encompasses everything. Everything comes through agriculture. Everything, no matter what you talk about, what you think about, and when you get down to the common denominator is going to boil down to agriculture, because everything starts from the dirt. Everything starts from the earth. Everything starts from us eating to gain energy to start our day. So we really need to grow this conversation. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's grow this conversation.
And I just real quick before we get out of here, I just want to address the sister. I agree. When we hear this word Black celebrity, going into ag terms, I'd encourage the family to look up Judas goat, a Judas goat. And so this will be your goat within your flock that, okay, I'm going to find the alpha. I'm going to find the main goat that all the rest of the flock follow. And so when I want to lead you to slaughter, I'm going to make sure I feed the Judas goat a little bit more. You know, we hear this concept of butter biscuits, right? This is a thing. This is a thing. I wish there was a magic wand where you could just be like, oh, no, the Judas goat's goat. Celebrities, you know, BB1. Once again, this is the opportunity for us as a community Can we incentivize these people? And I hate to use the word celebrities. I mean, people are people, right? But these are resources in our community. The same way Turtle Island, the same resources that are under that ground now are the same resources that was there when our ancestors were the original stewards of this place. And so something happened over time where somebody manipulated and made more use of these resources than us, the original inhabitants, did. And this is across all the lands where you see melanated people. And so saying that to say with situations like Moneybagg Yo, I'm not going to sit here and say I just listen to a lot of the music that's out here now, but I understand that we're all resources. None of us are perfect. Nobody's perfect. But this is where that code comes into place. There are absolute tools of degradation and destruction within our community. They are there. But what news and mainstream cameras and microphones aren't going to show you is the plethora of melanated men and women across the diaspora who are putting in work, who are growing, who are cultivating seeds, who are sacrificing. And wise people know, just, a lot of the farmers understand, I ain't gonna tell y'all nothing, because there's a lot of distrust that's been sown within this community. And so I can only speak from my personal experience. This is why I'm very passionate about when we have these conversations. I'm in no place to speak for anybody, right? I wouldn't even put that mantle on myself. But I understand a lot of our farmers are in a situation where the majority of their financing or funding is going to come from these same factions who've been undermining them. And so to step out and say certain things, I might affect my ability to feed my family. I might affect my ability, to just do my job as a producer. And so this is why the onus is upon us as a melanated community who value our perpetuity into the future, who value the opportunities that many of us haven't even tapped into for our kids. We have to bring this attention to the concept of Black farmer, whether you want to call it Black, melanated, autochthonous, indigenous. We have to bring attention. We have to make this conversation just as important as what's going on Instagram, social media. If it comes to a celebrity, let's not look at the messenger. Listen, what is the message? The silent message that this sister did, and I'm not big on Instagram models at all. But this sister just that was a serious blow. Between her and Nicki Minaj, there's been some serious positive blows for the melanated family at the hands of our sisters. And so it's my hope that it becomes more than a trend. I hope this becomes, as Young Thug would say, lifestyle. We got this, family. We're in our finest hour.
And there it is. I hope the family got a lot from the conversation today. Think about buying land, securing land. Seek out your local farmers, your local Black farmers, your local Black producers. Encourage our youth to show interest in agriculture, even if they don't pursue it as a career, just to have the working knowledge of how to work the land. This is a survival skill. These are skills that will carry them into life. The more tools you have in your cachet, the more formidable you will be as a human on this planet. The stronger you'll be, the more assets you have to make sure that you can provide and protect and nurture and grow. So again, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast on YouTube. But also, at the end of the day, Farmer Brown, if you really, 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 really want to know something, what do the people need to do?
If you really want to know something, let's tap in, get our prints in the mud, learn how to grow something.
Now, before we check out, we did have a sister that want to know where you can buy Booker T. Watley's book. And before we get off of here, I do want to show you exactly where you can buy this book. I'm going to put it in the banner. I'm making a banner now so we can so you can definitely buy this book. It is one. That is where you can buy Booker T. Wiley's book. It's a very valuable resource to have. Show you how to get that bag on an acre of land. We all need this book. We need to have personal libraries, and this is one of the books that we need to have. Definitely. Thaxton Water says it's an investment, and it definitely is. It's an investment. You're not going to lose with this investment. If you put action behind this knowledge, you're not going to lose with this investment because you'll have the knowledge of how to sustain yourself. So until next time, family, B1AG family, keep it growing. It's Sunday. Get ready to recharge for another work week. No Soylent Green, collard greens over Soylent Green. And we're going to make it through. Yeah, and agua, that good old water. Yeah, I know, H2O. Let's keep it growing, y'all, and we'll see you soon. Peace.